Rashee Rice has not looked very good in training camp. We'll talk about his stock next.
Dominate your draft and win your league. This is Locked On Fantasy Football with Fabs and Marcus. Fabs brings the expertise, Marcus brings the fire. Together, they'll lead you to the championship. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Mosher. He is the Fantasy Football Hall of Famer, Michael Fabiano. And today's episode is brought to you by Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use promo code Locked On to get $10 when you trade 10. Welcome back. On today's show, we are talking about all of the latest training camp buzz that we've seen over the last couple of days, including Kenneth Walker maybe having a bigger role than we expect, Malik Nabers' health, Kenyan Sadiq, and so much more. But before we do that, I want to let our guests know we have a very special guest coming up on Friday. It's Adam Schefter of ESPN. He was going to be on the show, as you could imagine, very, very busy schedule, but he will be with us on Friday answering some very pressing fantasy football questions. So be on the lookout for that. But Fabs, I want to talk about some of the latest buzz coming out of training camp. And I want to start with Rashee Rice, because if you are perpetually online like we are, you've seen all of the camp videos of Rashee Rice looking like he is moving in mud. And we're starting to see the ADP move a little bit. He is down to wide receiver 11, 25th overall in terms of the consensus ADP. Are you concerned?
Well, I mean, the good news is that we probably won't have any additional punishments or suspensions from the NFL stemming from Rice's issues. And of course, he spent 30 days in the clink in the offseason. But yeah, I mean, the bad news is that he hasn't looked explosive in camp. And you know me, I see stuff on social media and I take it with a grain of salt. But I watch some of these videos and then I'm going to some of the beat writers and the reporters who are actually watching it. And there was a quote from Nate Taylor, who covers the Chiefs. And his quote was, he's still laboring at times on the field. There are some reps where that looks like Rashee Rice, and there are some reps where he's still laboring in terms of changing directions in and out of breaks with full power, full speed, starting and stopping. And all of that is obviously tied to his procedure in May. So I've actually moved him down out of my top 12, and I moved Malik Nabers ahead of him by one spot. So I've got Nabers at 14 and Rice now at 15, where Rice was previously 8th or 9th. So I do have some concerns. And I'm not saying that this is red flag warning, forget about Rashee Rice. But when you factor this in, when you factor in that he's not durable, when you factor in the knuckleheaded factor, which hopefully he's learned his lesson. I mean, he spent 30 days in jail, for crying out loud. But I just feel more comfortable now drafting him as a wide receiver 2 and not necessarily as my number 1 wide receiver. And I would not be surprised if we had a slow start to the season. Let's remember, not only is Rice coming off the knee and coming off of 30 days in the clank, but also Patrick Mahomes is coming off an ACL too. So is he going to be ready for the start of the regular season in terms of being like Patrick Mahomes? We know he's going to play, but is he going to be Patrick Mahomes to start the season? Or will it take a little bit of time for these guys to get mental and physical confidence in their surgically repaired knees? So I'm not saying I won't draft Rice, but Marcus, I won't draft him as my wide receiver 1.
So I was in a somewhat high stakes fantasy league last night with a lot of people who are in the industry. They're in the know. Let's just say that. And I'm going to name some of the receivers that Rashee Rice went behind: Devontae Smith, Malik Nabers, Zay Flowers, Emeka Egbuka, Tedero McMillan, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Luther Burden. Now that's not going to be the case in every single league. And I don't think we are ever going to get to a spot where his ADP falls that far. But I think you are starting to see some drafters get concerned because there was another Chiefs beat reporter, and I apologize, I'm forgetting the name, but the idea was that, hey, he might only get to 900 yards. That's kind of the goal this year. It's like 900 yards for Rashee Rice. And if he's only getting 900 yards, there's just no way he should be a top 4 round pick for us, right? Now, I'm a believer in Rice's talent. I think that athletically, he could look significantly different 2 months from now, and 3-4 months from now, when our games really matter. Maybe that's when he is 100% healthy. But if you're expecting like the same Rashee Rice that we had during the 2023 season and at times during the 2025 season, I don't think it's going to happen.
And that's why I've moved him down, because, as I mentioned, it could take a little bit of time. But in the second half of the season, assuming he avoids injuries, we could be getting some pretty good numbers from Rashee Rice. But maybe the first month, maybe there's some inconsistency. Have you noticed all of these? And I hate to say this because this is exactly what happened last year. All these wide receivers who are getting dinged in camp and practice, right? I mean, Luther Burden's going to be out for the entire preseason, but he should be okay for week 1. Emeka Buka had an injury yesterday, but he should be good to go. All the Niners receivers, Devontae Smith hasn't practiced in a while. He's dealing with an injury. I'm just hoping this is not a sign of things to come, man, because we're talking about a lot of these players as being very valuable assets in fantasy. And I don't like seeing a lot of these dudes on the injury report so early.
Another player that has been on the injury report is Kenyan Sadiq, our rookie tight end with the New York Jets. His consensus ranking is tight end 21. I know there were a lot of people that were excited about him maybe going into the year. From a dynasty perspective, we're not all that concerned about this injury that he has. But in terms of redraft, I almost think he's undraftable.
He's getting close.
Because, I mean, you're not going to use him in the first 3 weeks of the season, right? And at that point, you'd rather have the roster spot.
I love the talent. And in Dynasty, like you said, I'm not worried. But when you miss this much time and you're a rookie and you've got a second-year tight end in front of you and Mason Taylor, who's pretty good.
Who we like. Yeah, we like Mason Taylor.
That concerns me. I mean, that's a concern for me. And so I have moved Sadiq down a little bit. He's in the 20s among tight ends, which is where his ADP is. Long term, I really like him. I love the talent. But for this year, I mean, Marcus, I'm starting to wonder if, like you said, I mean, we're not going to really see him make any kind of impact maybe until the second half of the season or maybe after the first month of the season, because first off, he's going to be behind the 8 ball in terms of missing all of this time. It's not good for a rookie. It's not good for any rookie. And also,
especially not this rookie, because he is not the most developed receiver. You're betting on athleticism, and he's just missed too much of the offseason so far to draft him.
And he also opens the door for Mason Taylor to look good, and for the Jets and for, Frank Reich to say, all right, Mason Taylor's played his way into a prominent role in this offense, and we love Kenyan Sadiq, but doesn't mean we have to make him the unquestioned number 1 tight end in year 1. So just a lot of bad vibes, a lot of bad juju going on there with Kenyan Sadiq. Again, long-term, I have no problem with him. He's still a top 6 overall pick. If you're doing a rookie only draft, he's still going to be one of those tight ends that is extremely valuable in long-term leagues. But if we're talking redraft, he's bordering on the edge of tight end 2 status right now, bordering on it, in which I mean falling maybe into high tight end 3 status.
My favorite thing that I'm going to do this year, I'm just going to tell you right now, after about week 4, when Kenyan Sadiq has a bunch of zeros on your fantasy bench, I'm just going to trade for him in every single dynasty league I have. And I know the price is still going to be high, but it's not going to be tight end 9 high. You might be paying tight end 11 or tight end 12 prices. I still fully believe in the talent, but this is a good time. If you don't have him on your team and you believe in Sadiq, wait it out. And I promise you his price will be cheaper in October. Yep. Let's talk about some players who are trending up, because we are a little negative in that first segment, including Malik Nabers. We'll get to him next.
Matt Derry here from the Locked On Lions podcast. Life insurance is one of those things you don't really think about until you have a reason to. For me, it really hit home when my father passed away over 20 years ago. You start thinking less about yourself and more about the people who depend on you, and making sure they're taken care of no matter what. That's why I like Ethos. They make getting life insurance simple. It's 100% online, no doctor visits, no needles, none of that. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in just a few minutes, and even get same-day coverage. And honestly, that's huge because life gets busy. You can get up to $3 million in coverage, and some plans are as low as just $30 a month. It's just one of those things that gives you peace of mind knowing your family is protected. Take 10 minutes to get covered today with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Applications may vary. Rates may vary.
This episode is brought to you by Kalshi. Before the season even kicks off, everyone is making predictions. Who's going to win the division? Who makes the playoffs? Who's going to be lifting the trophy at the end of the year? On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade those predictions in a live market. Will the Buffalo Bills win the Super Bowl this year? Right now, the Bills are trading at about an 8% probability. So a $100 trade would pay off around $1,100, $1,200. I love it. I think the AFC is really weak this year. I think the Bills are a great value right now. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position, trade the draft pick, the game, and more on Kalshi. Download the Kalshi app and use promo code LOCKEDON when you trade $10. You can get $10 when you trade $10. Kalshi, trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see Kalshi.com. Welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are discussing all of the latest buzz coming out of training camp. And we should mention Malik Nabers here, Fabs, because right before we jumped on this podcast, John Harbaugh said that the plan is to ramp up Malik Nabers soon, get him more involved in some teamwork. As we stand right now, it sure seems like Nabers is going to be ready for week 1 or shortly thereafter. Are you back in on Malik Nabers?
Yeah, I definitely am. And he gets to play the Cowboys, our Cowboys, in week 1. That could be a high-scoring affair. But yeah, every single report has been positive, all of them. And in the beginning, you're just, okay, well, one good practice, and you looked okay. Let's just continue to see if these reports are going to be higher than we expected in terms of, this is a player who doesn't look like he's coming off a knee injury, or like Rashee Rice, a little bit slow and out of his cut. There's been none of that, none of it. And let's remember that Malik Nabers is a first-round talent in fantasy. He's a first-round talent. I've moved him up to 14 among wide receivers. Right now, I have a mock draft coming out on Sports Illustrated tomorrow where he's like right at the end of round 2, beginning of round 3, in that area. Okay. And if these sort of reports, who are high on Nabers in terms of everything looks great, they're ramping him up, like you said, Harbaugh mentioned that. Why would we not move him up? Like, I've moved him up ahead of Rashee Rice and Emeka Buka and players like that, just slightly, but he is definitely a guy whose stock is on the rise. And this is why I tell you guys, in sports and whatever, you saw that softball game video and everyone is freaking out about Malik Nabers. Everyone. I didn't like seeing it either. He was actually one of my players to avoid in the initial Sports Illustrated draft kit, which, by the way, is updated and you can go check that out anytime you want. Now I took him out of there. I took him out of my busts. I took him out of players to avoid because all the reports have been good. I've actually added Alec Pearson to the players I might want to avoid instead of Malik Nabers. So yeah, there's no reason not to move him up, Marcus.
I think he should be moved up. Right now, he's being drafted as wide receiver 14, 30th overall. I mean, to me, I would flip-flop Rashee Rice and Malik Nabers in a heartbeat. However, I still think we should mention there is going to be some inherent risk here, even if Malik Nabers plays early in the year. I mean, how many times have we seen guys get back on the field And it's the next year where they say, hey, I wasn't 100%. I was out there. It's taken me a little bit of time to fully have confidence in that knee. Or we've seen it play out where, there's some soreness or there's some swelling. And all of a sudden, a guy that played really well one week is now suddenly out the next week. There is some risk to that as well. But you mentioned a first-round talent. Like he is. If he were fully healthy right now, I think he's probably going – honestly, I think he's going ahead of Drake London and CeeDee Lamb. Like I think he's probably wide receiver.
He's in that ballpark.
Yeah. I don't think his ADP has gotten to a point now where I'm avoiding him. Like it's certainly going up. But if he gets into the wide receiver 10, wide receiver 11 range, that's where I'll stop.
I don't know that he will unless we see some amazing footage in camp or he's not going to play in the preseason, but based off of beat reporters' Instagrams and Twitters and stuff and showing if it continues to look like he is the same dude who was, a dog in year one, man, he was awesome. Then I think you could see him sneak into the top 10 among wide receivers. But I also think we have to remember, and we have to unlearn what we've learned. Okay. I mean, Yoda once said that famously in one of the Star Wars, which, I like the good ones. Not the Disney ones, but anyways, dudes are using peptides now, right? They're getting PRP injections, all this magical stuff that has George Kittle maybe playing in, I don't know if he's going to go to Australia in week 1, but like maybe week 2. I tore his Achilles in the playoffs last year in January. It was actually this year.
But Fabs, there's still something to be said for having complete confidence.
I get it.
In your knee. And that's that's my fear with Nabers is that he's out there and he looks like Malik Nabers, but it's not 100% Malik Nabers.
But that confidence could be quicker to be gained when you're using these peptides and when you're getting these injections and all this kind of stuff. So
can we talk about another player really quickly who is trending upward? Kenneth Walker. And honestly, I don't understand this one. It's not that I don't like Kenneth Walker. Why? I do. I think my concern is, why are we moving Kenneth Walker up significantly based on training camp videos?
I don't know that it's because of training camp videos alone. I think it's also because you're hearing beat reporters saying that like he's the guy. Like there's no Zach Charbonnet stealing work from Kenneth Walker. None. Emmett Johnson is not going to be a significant dent into the Walker touch share. Nobody is. And as I've said on this show before, I know that Andy Reid more recently has used backfield committees because he hasn't had a dog like Ken Walker. I've used that term twice now. I got to stop. I can't use it for the rest of the week. This guy has all the talent in the world. I have said it. When he came out of school, I loved him. And he showed flashes of brilliance in Seattle, but he can never stay healthy. That's the one thing. That's the only thing keeping him back, Marcus. If he can avoid injuries this year, he's top 10 at running back. He's top 10. I remember some of the great running backs that have played under Andy Reid, even back to Philadelphia. We've talked about this before. Brian Westbrook and LaShawn McCoy. I mean, you throw Deuce Staley in there. I mean, there's and then Jamal Charles in Kansas City and Kareem Hunt version 1.0. So I just don't think there's anybody who's going to take any touches from this kid. And as I said, health is the biggest thing. Health. If he can avoid injuries and play 15 games this year, he's an RB1. And I have moved him up into that. I mean, he's not ahead of Jonathan Taylor, but he's right there with like Achane.
Well, do you have him ahead of Chase? Here's the one I don't get. Do you have him ahead of Chase Brown?
No.
Okay. I'm glad, because Brown is one of these guys where I am buying some of the hype where they've been using him in the slot. They've been using him more as a receiver because it makes sense. Like, hey, if they can get the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands quickly, have him take less hits. Chase Brown, honestly, is a player that I want in every single fantasy league this year. And I just have been struggling to get him because it seems like he's always going higher than this current ADP.
Chase Brown is somebody that everyone in the industry is in on. So it will be kind of difficult to get any kind of dip or bargain. He's going to be, he's really last good. Year in the beginning of the year, everyone was freaking out because the numbers weren't there. And at the end of the year, the numbers were there. So he's one of the guys that I would love to have as my RB1, assuming I'm not, in the top 2 or 3, and I'm not going to get one of the big names in terms of, Bijan or Gibbs. I want to ask you this, knowing that you love Chase Brown, would you take him over Christian McCaffrey?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I want to talk about some other running backs who you are actually cooling on after finally coming to your senses. Let's talk about Jadarian Price and TreVeyon Henderson next. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. There are more live events than ever we're seeing right now. Games, concerts, comedy shows, festivals. The hard part isn't deciding what you want to attend. It's actually getting the tickets. Between long wait times, confusing checkout processes, and surprise fees, buying tickets can sometimes feel way harder than it should. And that's why so many fans are turning to Game Time. The app is built to make buying tickets simple with upfront pricing, seat views before you buy, and exclusive saving opportunities that help you get to the events that you want to go to without the hassle. I know for me, I'm already planning my NFL schedule on different games that I want to go see, and Game Time has made the entire process so easy and so simple. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off, and download the Game Time app today. This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When workplace chaos hits and you need the right hire, Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps connect employers with candidates who match specific needs like skills, certifications, and location, so less time gets spent searching and more time gets spent finding the right fit. People are finding quality hires on Indeed at this very second. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have already made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing the candidates who check all of your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results. And when you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium status that it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. Just a reminder, Adam Schefter will be on our show on Friday to discuss all of the latest news and rumors coming out of the NFL and how it pertains to your fantasy football drafts. I want to talk about a couple running backs, though, before we head out. Jadarian Price. You've been very, very high on Price all year long from a dynasty standpoint, from a redraft standpoint. Are you cooling off now?
A little bit. Not in dynasty. I still long-term think that he's going to be the Seahawks' #1 running back. So not in dynasty, but in redraft a little bit. I'm not saying that I wouldn't draft him because actually where he's being picked right now, I feel really comfortable with, which is like a flex starter. But here's the reasons why, and this has nothing to do with George Holani because George Holani, forget about that. I'm starting to think that maybe Zach Charbonnet is going to be back sooner than we kind of think. Albert Breer, my pal from Sports Illustrated, earlier in the camp time said that Charbonnet's availability for the opener could be a close call. And again, like he got hurt late last year. So I'm thinking Charbonnet's not going to be back until, Halloween, when I was making my initial comments about Price. Again, peptides, PRP injections, all this magical stuff that these doctors and orthopedics are coming up with.
You've been talking about it. Go ahead.
But you know what I'm saying? Like if Charbonnet wasn't going to be back until October, which was the original timeline, if you look at traditional ACL tears and when a player comes back, then that gives Price plenty of time to be the guy and establish himself. But if Charbonnet is coming back in the first month of the season, Marcus, then I'm worried that Price becomes like a Ken Walker from last year.
And not even probably not even Ken Walker, right? Because there's just no way they're going to give that many touches.
They're using him a lot as a receiver too.
Right.
So I mean,
I don't think he's going to be effective as a runner. Ken Walker's really good, but I do think there's a chance that he gets miscast as just a satellite scat back in year one.
So I'm a little bit concerned that if Charbonnet is going to be back in the first month, that Price is not going to be allowed the opportunity to be what I thought he could be, which is a breakout guy in year one. Doesn't mean he won't be a breakout guy maybe in year two. That's why I'm not worried about him in Dynasty so much. But in redraft, I moved him down a few spots. He's in that flex starter.
Where do you have him right now?
Range for me. So right now, it pains me to say this because I like him so much, but I have him in the low 20s. I've got him in like the Bucky Irving, DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery area, where previously I had him up with like Achane and Quinshon Judkins, and I just can't comfortably put him there if Charbonnet is going to be back in the first month of the season.
Travis Achane, correct? Not Devon Achane, just to be clear.
I know we have to say that now too.
Yes. Well, I just want to make sure that
Achane.
I think
it's crazy.
Yeah. Right now his ADP is RB 26. So you're
I
still
have him a little higher than ADP, but not much.
Okay. Another running back who you've been very, very high on in both redraft and in Dynasty is TreVeyon Henderson, who right now his ADP is RB 24.
Yep.
Why are you cooling off here as well?
I much like Price, I feel like maybe we're going to have to wait another year for him to potentially break out because when you hear a guy can't pick up blitzes and his pass protection hasn't improved, like that's a big problem. You're not going to be a 3-down back in the NFL if you're getting your quarterback killed.
It's true. So
Ramondre Stevenson has done nothing in the offseason or the summer to suggest that he's not the same player he was last year. So that, I mean, it's just, I think Stevenson's an obstacle that Henderson's not going to be able to hurdle this year. Next year, I still like him in Dynasty quite a bit because he's a dynamic playmaking running back who I think will end up being the Patriots starter at some point in the future. I just feel like maybe that future isn't until 2027 or, obviously if Stevenson gets hurt. Even last year, Stevenson averaged 0.6 more points per game than Henderson. The touches were a little bit skewed because remember Stevenson missed some time, and in those games, Henderson got the bulk of the carries and the touches out of the backfield. But I don't know if Henderson's going to jump him this year.
Well, let me ask you this:
pass protect, it's not going to happen.
If TreVeyon Henderson was your RB2 this year, how would you feel about it?
I'd prefer that he was a flex.
And that's the concern, right? Like if TreVeyon Henderson has been, a top 4-round pick for you or top 5-round pick, you can't have him be your third running back unless you went so running back heavy, but then you're suffering at receiver. And I think right now the ADP has fallen down to RB 24. And I won't be surprised if we see players like Jaylen Warren and Tony Pollard jump him in the near future.
Yeah. I mean, see, I don't know that I'm going in that direction, but I will say this. I will say this. I'm going to give you a player. You tell me who you'd rather have. Would you rather have Bucky Irving or TreVeyon?
Bucky.
Would you rather have Chuba Hubbard or Henderson?
Henderson. He's just more talented.
Would you rather have one more? Bayshall Rootin' Tootin'.
Oh, Henderson. I don't know.
As I just mentioned, Chuba Hubbard, news comes out that he is week to week with a hamstring injury. Oh, Jonathan Brooks's ADP is going to fly, man. Just came out right now. Hubbard's got a hamstring injury. Week to week is not good, kids.
That's
day to day. All right. Week to week. Uh-oh.
That's concerning.
Not good.
All right, that is it for today's show. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Don't forget to check out the Locked On NFL Top 100, voted on by the NFL host of the Locked On Podcast Network. Our Top 100 was formed by experts that cover these teams and players every single day. Find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And go listen to my reaction when I found out that Quinnen Williams of the Cowboys was ranked in the 80s. I absolutely lost it on Locked On Cowboys.
Oh, I gotta hear that.
Yeah.
Wait, you went crazy? You had it ranked?
Yeah, I mean,
the mild-mannered Marcus Mosher.
I can be upset at
five
sometimes.
times
Don't worry. All right, make sure you follow Fabs on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.